Hey, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everyone. This is Stefan Osthaus speaking. Welcome to today's webinar on the topic of achieving life balance. As everyone is coming into the meeting here, let me get started and start the shows. You should now be able to see the material we're going to share. And to kick it off, based on previous experience, let's do a quick sound check and see if those of you in the meeting can already hear me. So here's a quick poll that I brought up. If you can please take a moment and click on the corresponding link on whether you hear me really well, maybe too loud, maybe too soft, or if you cannot hear anything. So please give it a quick vote so that I don't end up presenting to you guys without you hearing anything. Okay, I had a few votes in here. That sounds very promising. So far, everyone can hear well. Very good. Close. Thank you. Here's the proof in the pudding. Everyone can hear very well. Thank you very much for that. And with that, let's go start and get going. All right. So welcome. Let's speak about achieving life balance. And in looking at the audience that joined us today, I recognized a few employees of companies that are corporate members of our program. I saw a few well-known faces that I know are members of mybalance.net. But in order to tailor what we're going to share today really well, let me ask you again through a new poll the question of who of you is already a member of mybalance.net so that I can actually go ahead and target what makes most sense for you guys. Okay, here's the question for you. So if you could please let me know if you're already a member on mybalance.net. As you might know, there's a free basic membership and a gold membership. If you're an employee of a company who is a corporate member, then you're at least entitled to gold membership. If you're not really sure, let me know by clicking, I don't know, my level of membership. And if you haven't signed up on the site yet, then I'm going to be a little bit more descriptive on the things that go beyond the website. And then please let me know that you're not a member yet. Very good. So let's close this. Thank you very much. You are great. Everyone has voted. And here are the results. Good. So the majority of you guys are members. Let me at some point, maybe we do this now. If you're not really sure of your level of membership, then whenever you log on to the site, in your top left corner, you can see the word basic or gold. And if you're a basic member, you will also notice by when you print your life balance report, it basically only has one number in it, your overall life balance score. If you're a gold member, you get a 10-page results report, which I'm going to touch on in a few minutes here. So if you're an employee of a company that is a corporate member, make sure that you upgrade. If you don't know how, shoot us a message to support@mybalance.net or check back to the launch email that you got through your employer that has detailed descriptions on how you can upgrade your membership to gold for free. Very good. And if you're not a member yet, then we hope that you will still be able to find a lot of the resources we share beyond the website today useful. Good. Let me go back and see this bit. Very good. Then hide the poll and move to the next thing. 3 things before we start. Who am I? My name is Stefan Osthaus. I'm the founder of mybalance.net, and my team and I help companies to bring employee focus into their corporate culture and combine it with what they already usually have, which is customer focus. So when you bring those 2 things together, customer experience and employee experience, and treat them as 2 things of the same side, two sides of the same coin, then this is how we help individuals and companies to be successful. then you will notice how here we speak about life balance, and you might be more accustomed to the word work-life balance. However, I personally think there's more to life than just work and non-work. It's not about going to work in the morning and then biting a stick till 5 in the evening and then go home and have a drink and reward yourself for the day. We believe that life balance consists of at least 5 pillars on which your balance should rest. It's you as a person, your family, your relationship, your friends, and your work. And you as a person are so important there that we look at some subcategories there. We want to know how much time do you have for yourself? How are you in balance with your health situation and your financial situation? How much energy does your home contribute or take out of your life? And how clear are you about your values? So we're going to touch on this throughout the session today, but this is why we don't speak about work-life balance. We think it's a little bit more complex than that. The third thing I'd like to discuss today is that, and I'm sure you know that, when you come here and you seek life balance, today's webinar or a book or an assessment or whatever you do is not going to fix it once and for all. So we're not speaking about a fix for your life balance, but we're speaking about going onto a journey that will lead you continuously towards more life balance. And that journey is hopefully fun and rewarding. And today, I hope that if it's your first step, it will be a very encouraging one for you to continue on that. Good. So when we speak about a journey and we speak about how that should lead you to life balance, then we consider 3 steps to be the main steps you want to take. First of all, you should assess where you stand today. The mere fact that you are on this session today shows me that you hope to be able to improve your life balance from here. And we're going to take a quick poll in a minute here and see where you would put yourself on a little scale here. After you know where you want to improve, you then usually get a lot of advice from folks, what helped them and what you should start doing in your life as well. But usually one symptom of not having perfect life balance is a severe lack of time. So I believe that before you should start topping things onto your routine and topping things into your life that you should start doing, we first need to identify a few things that you should stop doing to free up some time for the things that can then be rewarding for you and help you towards more life balance. This is also the structure of today's session. So let's start speaking about how you assess your life balance and then discuss a few examples on how to save time and then spend it in a rewarding way, invest it into more life balance for you. Starting with an assessment, I'd like to again open up a little poll. I hope you find those as interesting and fun as I do. I'd like to ask you the question, how would you describe your current life balance? And for simplicity reasons, let's create 3 categories today. The first one is the bad bucket. I don't have much balance in my life and I need to fix that. And there's a middle category where you say, I'm okay with regards to my life balance, but I can still improve it. And the shiny category on the other extreme is I have great balance amongst the important areas of my life. So let's take a little moment to look at these 3 buckets, and why don't you position yourself and let me know where you would put yourself. Thank you. Great progress there. Almost everyone has voted. Let's wait for the remaining participants. Awesome. Thank you. You guys are really quick today. Great. So here are the results. Interesting. Very typical. In most of the seminars here, the webinars, this is exactly the result we get. Half of the participants think it's really an area where I can improve a lot, and the other half says I'm pretty much middle grounds where I'm still okay, but I think I can do much more. Let's hide this and go back to this. Let's share what we can see from the data that we have from mybalance.net and additional research. So when you ask this question to a very wide audience and aggregated over all the samples we take, then it's pretty close to what we saw in today's webinar. About 40% say that their life balance is more or less out of whack. With the life balance score that we measure on mybalance.net, we draw the threshold at 50% score. Between 50 and 75%, we define middle grounds, and we say this is where your life balance is okay, it's not killing you, but there's still room for improvement. And only the top 10% of our respondents say, I'm really happy with my life balance, and this is 75% or above. Now, I think it's quite typical that on today's call we're lacking this top segment, because if you're pretty happy with your life balance, you would probably not sign up for a webinar on the topic. So if you want to know this a little bit more in more detail than just 3 buckets, I encourage those of you who are a member on mybalance.net to go and take the questionnaire. It's 15 to 20 minutes, quite wisely invested, and it rewards you with a 10-page report and life balance scores in each of the categories that you saw in this little star graphic in the top right corner. So you get that, and then you get nice color coding so that you can highlight the areas where you're really strong, where you can draw energy from, and on the other side you can highlight the areas that you want to improve and hence prioritize where you want to start your journey. Okay, so this is what I'd like to share on the assessment side today. Let's speak a little bit about how, after you have determined that maybe you want to improve the area of you as a person and work, how you can now free up some time to actually do that. Because I think if I asked you guys on a poll who of you has plenty of time at their hand in order to address these life balance improvements, the answer would probably be 0%. So first of all, we need to free up some time. So I'm going to share some of the resources where those tips are from. They're mainly from either a book that, again, if your employer has signed up for the MyBalance program, you probably found on your desk already, and it's part of the advice center on mybalance.net. And when I'm projecting a few examples here now, you will see little numbers in the bottom right corner. For the users of the website, those are the document IDs. So if you want to dive a little bit deeper in those areas, you can search, when you're logged in, you can search for those numbers, and they will then actually take you to a whole write-up of this category together with 1 to 3 step tips on how to implement this. So to go clockwise, starting at the top, let's introduce the topics and then maybe spend time on 2 of those and get a little bit deeper on those. So to save time in your relationship is probably very intuitive, yet even more difficult to do for all of us, and it means create time without your devices. Probably all of us have not only one smartphone, but several screens that we use, tablets and computers and smartphones. So the amount and the degree to which these screens or these devices have eaten into our daily life is probably reaching almost 100% of our awake hours in the day. And a lot of this time we stole from ourselves, from our friends, and from our families and from our partners. So when you want to create time without your devices, you must do so in a very disciplined way. It's almost like getting off a drug or getting off something that is like smoking or eating too much or something. It's a bad habit that is very difficult to break. But remind yourself that when you enjoy the people you are with, you will be able to seek them out for what they stand for. Underneath the surface, you will find their insight, their fun, and their wisdom, and that again will then invite you to contribute more and not have part of your brain attached to your device whenever it pings or blinks or vibrates or whatever other disturbing signals it sends to you at the dinner table, at the breakfast table, at the family outing. at the movies or wherever you are. The second area, and let's spend a little bit more time on this one, is blocking time for yourself. Let me give you an example from my own life here. About 9 years ago, my daughter was born. And my wife and I said, how do we now make sure that we're not 100% parents, that we're still individuals, and that we're still a couple, that we can live all three dimensions of our life? Many of you with kids will probably have asked themselves the same question. And both my wife and I are very organized, so we sat down and we said, okay, we want each of us one evening per night where we can go out and do stuff by ourselves, with our friends, with our family, or with whomever, without having to check at home. So for me, it's Thursday night. If a buddy calls me up and says, hey, Stefan, we haven't had a beer together in a long time, I know that I can make an appointment with him and go out for a drink on whatever Thursday night without me having to check back at home. I don't do this every Thursday, obviously, but I know that I can do this. And the mere feeling is awesome. And my friends love it, that I am able to commit to meeting with them without having to go through a long scheduling process. My wife has the same, so this is our weekdays. We also said that we want to be able to do the same thing on weekends. So I have my days on Saturdays, she has her days on Sundays, and the next week we swap around. And again, it doesn't mean that we will run away from the family on that day from morning till evening, but I know that when I want to go for a nice long run, or when I want to go and spend an hour at the gym, or when I want to go and visit my mom by myself, or do whatever, I can do so on that day that is in my calendar. And my wife knows that during that day she has to run the logistics with our daughter, make sure they do something fun. And of course, most of the time I will join them. But it's the good feeling, it's a really good feeling to be able to plan for yourself without that I have to check back with everyone. I'm sure you expect what's next. On a yearly basis, we each have a week earmarked in our calendars where we say, if that is something where I want to go and take a yoga class in Greece, or my wife says she's a crazy skier, I want to go with my crazy skiing friends and go off-piste in the Alps and go skiing, then each of us will be able to do this and not long and not be able to do this. So I encourage you, whether you want to be as obsessive compulsive about this as we are, or whatever you do, make sure that you block times for you as an individual, for you as a couple, because then you will enjoy even more the time that you have as a family, and you will be able to enjoy all three dimensions of your identity much more. So if you want to read up more about this, search for document ID 1104, but this is something that's really close to my heart, because whenever I see my friends or clients I work with suffer and we drill deep to find the reason, very often this is the underlying cause for the lack of life balance and dissatisfaction. The next one is a no-brainer. It's very straightforward, but I found this to be a welcome tip with many of my friends. You have a lot of idle time at home, doing the laundry, being in the garden, also in your car driving from A to B. So if you feel that you don't spend enough time staying in touch with your friends and your family, get yourself a really nice headset, and whenever you're in your idle time moments, use the time to catch up with them on the phone. Make sure you don't have to scream to your hands-free system that has a bad quality, but make sure you can lean back and have a nice, intimate, high-quality, both content-wise and audio quality-wise conversation with them as you do things that don't need your brain power. So for these things, I recommend do actually multitask, whereas everyone else says most of the times do not multitask. This is a great moment where you can. The other one is for the gadget friends amongst yourself. Just an example, in my life, I spent about 1 to 2 hours every Saturday mowing the lawn. Now, this didn't go well together with my free day on the weekend. I was like, darn, most of the time when I want to enjoy my garden, I'm actually working on mowing the lawn. So it's just one example of where technology can actually help you. I bought a robot lawnmower, and from that point on, I freed up 1 to 2 hours every week during the summer, and this is the most valuable time. So think about where technology can help you. This is just one of the examples. I'm not going to speak much about the email beast here because this is actually a complex thing. There's actually 5 articles, both in the book as well as on the website, that deal with what we call the My Balance way of doing email. This is something that I personally developed, used throughout my life, and implemented myself with executives in companies around the world. And so when I tell you, when you do these 5 things to your email behavior, you will be able to save up to 1 hour per day. 1 hour per day on dealing with your email. I'm not promising too much. It's a proven benchmark that I saw happen with folks who apply this, who, for example, make sure that emails they are CC'd on do not end up in their inbox, but end up in a separate area of their Outlook or whatever email client they use, that they automatically archive every email that comes in. So when they sit with their smartphone in the bus, in a train, at the dentist, and they have time to kill, they can go through their list and can delete emails because they have already been archived. Check it out. If you feel that you're spending too much time on email, this whole category will be very, very rewarding for you in saving time. The favorite topic of all the My Balance users, and actually mine, is reducing your work list. Let's spend a little bit time here because it actually sounds too good to be true. Now, if I'd be in a room with all of you and I said, can I see a show of hands from those of you who think they have too much on their plate at work, I would guess that about 99.9 to 100% of the hands would go up. So how can we reduce our work list? And there's actually a great concept that I used for mentoring and coaching folks who worked for me and folks I worked with throughout my career. When you look at the tasks that you perform at work, they can be mapped to 2 dimensions very easily. The first one is whether a task is good or bad for your employer, the company you work for, or the boss. And that has to do with the task being innovative or just maintaining a certain process. So innovative is when you come up with a great new product idea, and maintaining something makes it useful. For example, filling in forms, making sure a server doesn't go down, making sure you submit your travel expenses on time. So these are the useful categories, and innovative is when you come up with great new ideas. On the other scale, you have the fact whether a task is cool and rewarding for yourself. Is it good for you? You can do something that is very prestigious. People will look at you and say, wow, this person is responsible for in-field testing of new products. How cool is that? This person is government relations. He meets with the president every other month. How cool is that? So it's either very prestigious, or these are tasks that you like. You actually enjoy these things. So this now creates a nice 2x2 matrix, and the first bucket is the things that are good for you but not good for your employer. When I led a Fortune 500's customer support organization, customer experience organization, and employee experience organization as their worldwide VP, I had a team of 6,500 people and a multi-million-dollar budget to spend every year, and yet I loved to format my Excel tables nicely with colored headings. This was my pet task. And yes, you can call me obsessive compulsive. I'm actually not, but this indicates a little bit in that direction. So it's my pet task. It's maybe cool for me. I like that. I like when it looks nicely afterwards, but it's a total waste of my time as compared to what my company actually paid me for at that time. So pet tasks are a great example. The other extreme point are where you do things that are good for your employer but not good for yourself. So here you perform, you fill in your travel expense form, or you do a task that doesn't match your preferences or your skill set. You do it because nobody else can do it, or because everyone else ran away fast enough and you ended up with it, and you don't want this. So while the bottom right corner is the playground, this is the slave ground where you actually have to perform tasks you hate. In the bottom left corner, things are bad for the company, bad for you, you're wasting your time. And when you actually think about what you do at work, there's surely a few examples of things that have to do with outdated processes, investment into ideas that will never fly, work on market segments that have no potential, dealing with outdated tools you have to use that just consume so much more time that would make sense otherwise. So all of these are examples of where you're wasting your time. And I guess you expected it. The top left corner is the Superman quadrant. This is where you want to be and where you want to focus your energy when you're at work. So now you say this is easier said than done. How can I actually get to the point where I perform my Superman tasks? So of course you stop wasting your time. After you mapped your task into this quadrant, you eliminate them. The tasks that are slave work for you because they don't match your preferences or your skills, you try to outsource, ideally to partners, vendors, other departments who might actually be much better suited, much faster and much more efficient at doing these tasks. The playground tasks you should delegate downwards in your team. Sometimes you might feel that folks do not reward it, do not actually enjoy doing these tasks because you hate them and you do them and you think, I don't dare delegating them downwards. But the fact actually is you would be surprised how somebody might brighten up and smile at you when you pass down a task that was so far in your responsibility and you let somebody else do this. And as a result, obviously, you will be able to focus on the Superman tasks. You will ideally have maybe not 3/4 less of work on your table, but you will have a significant reduction in the other 3 quadrants that allow you to focus on the things that make you look good, make you enjoy your work, and make you advance your career. So if you want to read more about this, go and search for document 5001. This is my favorite guideline that I've seen people apply successfully in their careers. So I strongly recommend that you look at this if you feel that you have too much at your plate. Okay, so coming to the last category, we now freed up a lot of time, and now you think about how can I make best use of this time in order to actually achieve better life balance. So again, here are a few examples of what you can do. And many of them are intuitive. Of course, if you want to create quiet time for yourself, where you come back and ground yourself and be in touch with the inner you, you can do this through several tools. You can meditate, and if you want to find out what's to that, you can either go and take a meditation class. I did that. I enjoyed that very much. Or you can read document 1106, where we look at the foundations of meditation: posture, music, yes or no, guided meditation, yes or no, sitting, laying down, whatever you want to do. I meditate when my life is complicated, and it helps me to ground myself. When my life is in balance, like these days, I'm a really happy camper. I love what I do. It's all pretty straightforward and going well. Then I go running, and I meditate while I run. That's all the meditation I need. That's all the grounding I need there. So find your way there. One thing I'd like to spend a little bit more time on is planning your vacation. You might say, vacation is good, bad, I do it, I don't do it. I can prove with data that If you are, for example, living in the United States, then the statistics tell me that you're only using half of your allocated vacation time. And the allocated vacation time you have in the United States is already pretty much half of what the folks in Europe get. So that means voluntarily you spend your year with 1/4 of the vacation that the Euros have and that they spend at the beaches, on cruises, on city trips and other things. So even if you don't like your if you don't need your vacation, if you think you can't be replaced at work during those weeks during the year, reconsider. For your family, for your relationship, make it a habit to create your annual vacation plan. Looking forward to vacation is already half of the benefit of actually going. So don't only go spontaneously, because then you'll never find the time. If you don't put this event into your annual plan, chances are it will never happen. If you implemented the MyBalance way of doing email, you will already have a very good structure to nominate a deputy and make sure stuff happens with your work while you're out. This is an important prerequisite for you to actually be able to enjoy a vacation. If you know that while you're out everything piles up on your desk, it's very hard to actually check out from work and enjoy. If we speak about devices, chances are you're online no matter where you go. So a friend of mine actually did something really smart. She uninstalled her email profile from her iPhone before she went on vacation. So she didn't have the Exchange sync settings on the iPhone anymore. And what she did as well is she had somebody on her team look into her inbox while she was gone, and she said, if you need me, send me a text message, and then I will find a time to call you away from my family where I don't interrupt this once-in-a-lifetime swimming with dolphin things, or this beautiful dinner with the family, or this fireworks at the beach or the bridge in Sydney or wherever I am. So do these things and prep yourself for something going wrong where your boss says, you know, I need you on this call while you actually plan to be on vacation. It's this final negotiation. Think about how you can still make your vacation happen, how you can add a day at the end of vacation and actually declare a day in the middle of it work if needed. So be creative if challenges come up. Don't cancel your vacation, but build something around it so that you maybe have to do a Skype session from your resort on one day and then deal with your boss that the vacation will take a day longer in return. Very important point, don't underestimate what your vacation from work does to your relationship and your family. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on friendship truth. If you think that you need a little bit of advice on how to make new friends, maintain them, use tools to stay in touch with them around the world, and understand a little bit about the philosophy between unequal effort in friendship and unequal affection amongst friends, then I recommend you look up document 4001. The next one is a pretty straightforward but extremely useful, maybe one of the most useful tips that I applied in my own leadership career. Have a 3-minute version means that remember the last time you had this milestone presentation in front of the board or the senior management meeting or the customer. You were all prepped out with 45 slides, or maybe you're a really good presenter. You had 15 slides for 45 minutes. Your storyline was well rehearsed and you were ready to go. And you sat in front of the meeting room waiting to be called in, and there was one delay after the other. The admin opens the doors, looks outside, apologizes and says, sorry, we're so behind. By the time the door opens, the leader of the meeting says, sorry, Tom, you only have 10 minutes left because we're so behind, or we can invite you to the next meeting, which is 1 month from now. In this situation, if you have your 3-minute version of your pitch ready, you can do what is most recommendable. You say, great, I only need 5 minutes. You can go in, you make your point, and you even leave time for questions, you stop on time, you will not exceed the 10 minutes by a second. And in my career, these were my most successful pitches. This is where I had the biggest support and the biggest gratefulness, because everyone said, great, this guy helps us to come back on track with our 2-day leadership retreat here. A career compass is the other thing I'd like to comment on. For those of you who are working at a company and planning your careers, then we've been trained through questions like, what would you like to do five years from now, to setting ourselves very specific objectives and goals for our career. I recommend that you don't do that. I recommend that you think about the 2 to 5 most fundamental needs that you have in your work. Let me give you mine as an example. I have 3. My first need is I want to make a visible change in the organization I work for. I want to make a change that people can see. The second one is, for family reasons, I cannot relocate away from my hometown. I can travel as much as you want, but I need to live where I live. And the third requirement is, I can't work with jerks for more than a very short time. So either the problem solves itself and the company heals itself of the jerks and ejects him or her, or I need to leave. I need to find another job because I just can't deal with jerks anymore. So in my career, I did all kinds of things. I was a CMO at a company. I ran the support, the customer experience, and the employee experience thing. Now I consult with companies, and whenever an opportunity presented itself, I held my compass against it, and when it vibrated and said, yes, your 3 basic needs are met, I knew it was a good opportunity. If my goal had been, I want to be the CMO of a company, then I would have run out of goals the moment I became it. So don't be too specific. You might be blind to some great opportunities that present themselves. The last one on this list that I don't want to spend too much time on is some great material we have on the difference between value and ethics and faith and religion. It's basically a singular and plural couple of pairs. So your values tell you what's right and wrong. And the aggregated values of the community to live in are called the ethics. So you should be very clear to yourself about, are your values aligned with your environment or aren't they? They don't need to be. But you should be able to understand the difference and be conscious about them and deal with them and not worry about them if you made the decision that it's okay. If you like your steak and you live in India, then your values differ from ethics that are probably mostly vegetarian. The other pair is faith and religion. What you believe is true and false in life is your faith. And then you add an organizational factor, a community, and maybe some sanctions and rewards around it, and you have a religion. So many friends I speak to say, oh, I'm not in a church, I don't believe. And that's not necessarily something that has to go together. You don't need to be in a church to be faithful. So think about these things. And if you want to find out more, there's a number of documents there that you can refer back to and find your position on these dimensions. So I hope that some of these things are some great input and some food for thought on how to actually spend the time that you saved earlier. Now, to get you going on your journey and wrap up on time here for you, I'd like to introduce a few resources that you have if you want to take these thoughts further. So most of you are a member on mybalance.net. If you aren't, go check it out. If you like a paper version of this and much more, all of the advice is also in the book, The End of Work-Life Balance. And you can actually get it on Amazon around the world and find out more at mybalance.net/book. The third resource I'd like you to sign up for if you're interested is our monthly balance that we send out. So you can go to mybalance.net/newsletter and sign up there. And of course, you can unsubscribe from it in every message that you receive. If you like to play on Facebook, we're there, and we post reminders for webinars and invitations to newsletters and all kinds of things there. So feel free to follow us at facebook.com/mybalance.net. And of course, I will make sure we send out the material we shared today in an hour from now or so that you have it handy and you can refer back to it. So with that, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. When you log out from today's meeting, and also in the wrap-up email that you get from us, there's a quick survey with one question I'd like to invite you to answer us so that we can continue to improve this webinar. Let us know how you liked it and if you have any ideas on how to improve it. And with that, contact us at team@mybalance.net with any question you might have. If you have trouble upgrading your membership to gold, or if you have a question or a comment. And with that, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm going to leave this slide on so that you can take a few notes about the resources, and I'm going to wrap it up here. So I hope to